Hello, hello, everyone. Hope you can see me. I'm trying to make sure I can see myself here. I can see some of you. Still getting used to this technology. But anyhow, welcome. Happy Black History Month. Welcome to our program tonight. We are extremely excited to have you here. I think our speaker's jumping on. We're extremely excited to have you all here tonight. I want to give some shout outs and some personal welcomes as I see people hopping on. I see Bernadette. I see Craig. How you doing? Dr. T. Toomer, Imante Francois. I see Jay, Sharon, Mike. Welcome. I see some of our sponsors, Nicola from Baptist Health, Rashida, of course, Nancy, I think just jumped on, Sean Davis. Thank you all for joining us here tonight as we continue to celebrate Black History Month as we should. And I think if you saw my chamber updates, we obviously celebrate, our Blackness and our contributions year round. But this is a special month. So we don't feel bad going ahead and celebrating and putting together special programming for you all. Now, I wanted to speak on specifically our celebrate slide. Let me go to that so we can move on. We're celebrating Black History this month in a special way. Each Friday, we typically do have a Black history fact, but we're dedicating this month to our Black business icons here in Broward. So please look out for that because we want to make sure as we live in the moment and we look forward that we also look backwards to honor those that came before us, that paved the way, that worked and built under extremely difficult situations such as segregation and lynching, etc., but still managed to build up communities and legacies for their families. So we'll be honoring our local Black Broward business owners every Friday with those posts. So please look out for that. We started out our celebration on February 2nd and kicked that off for those of you that were here with Harold Pryor Esquire, who is the first Black elected state attorney in the entire state of Florida. Like that is huge. And for this brother to be so young in his 30s and to be so focused and have a plan for fairness, equity, and justice in place already, he kind of hit the ground running. We were happy to start off our month with him. And as we are happy to continue our celebration tonight with our special guest, Commissioner Nancy Metayer. Now, I must admit, for whatever reason, I pronounce it a little bit more Frenchy, and I had to control myself. I always want to say Metayer, right? Like I'm in Paris. But it's Metayer, as I understand. I was corrected by somebody. So we are.
No, you're right,
Oh,
Shahima.
I
You're
am.
right.
Okay. So then the
Metayer
correction was wrong.
it was wrong.
Nice, nice. Okay, so now I don't feel so bad. I can do my Frenchy, introduction here for Nancy Metayer. There we go.
You're
Um,
correct there, yeah.
Before we get started, I do want to acknowledge our sponsor for tonight's event, Baptist Health. And they wanted us to make sure that we knew that it was Heart Health Month. They wanted to do two messages. So, last month we kind of dealt with in our business referral groups, we talked a little bit about mental health. So, you know that I try to talk about making sure we're healthy. If we're not healthy, we can't run our businesses. So we have to love our heart. And here are a few ways that we can be reminded to do so. And they also want to remind you of something else, that they're here in Broward County. So take a look, in case you didn't know, take a look at this new video that they released, letting you know that they've landed here above the Miami-Dade County line.
My name is Juliette Murphy Rolack. I've lived in Broward for 25 years. Health and wellness not only means exercise, but it really means a balanced diet as well. We're very excited about having Baptist Health here. It's certainly a health enterprise that is well known and respected in South Florida. It's going to make such an impact in our Broward community.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Baptist Health, for sponsoring this event and for letting us know that you're here and you can see the information right in Plantation. And I do want to stop and pause and just note that in the United States, heart disease is a leading cause of death for both men and women. I didn't know that. So, fortunately, it is also one of the most preventable diseases. And of course, our sponsors just want to remind us that taking care of ourselves is important. I'll just add that being in this COVID-19 time, where we see that having pre-existing conditions is an underlying factor with COVID-19. We want to make sure that we're taking very good care of ourselves. So with
My
that,
name.
sorry, we'll move on to the next slide. So without further ado, I want to bring up Nancy Metayer, Commissioner Metayer, and I want to introduce you properly. So Nancy has called Coral Springs her home for over 20 years. She is a graduate of Coral Springs Charter School, and she earned her Bachelor of Science from FAMU, Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University, and her master's from Johns Hopkins University, Bloomberg School of Public Health. Nancy has a history of public service and that she was on the Broward County Commission on the Status of Women, the City of Coral Springs Neighborhood Environmental Committee, and Customer Involved Government Committee. She was also a member of the Broward County Soil and Water Conservation District. Last year, she won a seat on the Coral Springs City Commission. As such, she is the first Black female and Haitian American to serve in this post. So we are extremely happy to have you here with us, Nancy, tonight, not only to discuss, you know, why you ran, why you thought it was important to run for the commission seat, but also to talk a little bit about your agenda. So I'm going to kind of just hop into it, and we want to find out a little bit about you before we get into the meat of things, right? What makes you tick? So tell us a little bit about how you grew up and how that will inform how you carry out your duties as a city commissioner.
Well, first and foremost, I want to say thank you to you, Shahiwa, for not only putting this event together, but also highlighting all the Black electeds and all the Black individuals who've paved the way for all of us. Sometimes when we talk about Black History Month, we tend to think about everybody we hear about all the time, but you going out of your way to ensure that you are creating a new conversation, bringing more folks into the fold is amazing. So thank you. Thank you, Broward County Chambers, Black Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event. And thank you all for having me and joining this call. So with that being said, I was raised with humble beginnings. I'm a child of immigrants, first generation Haitian American, as you had noted before. My beautiful parents migrated here from the beautiful island of Haiti, Haiti. My dad is from Gonaïve and my mom is from Port-au-Prince. And with them, they instilled early in my childhood the meaning of hard work. And they basically worked very hard to accomplish this American dream. So with that, we were very active in our church, very active in the community, and that's where my love for community service came from. And also my grandmother, right? She was able to instill with me knowledge around agriculture, about international affairs. That's who I learned it from. She would tell me stories about the coup d'etat that was happening at that time in Haiti, and really break that down for me. And so with that being said, my family moved here to Coral Springs, where they decided to raise me and my siblings. I have 3 other siblings. I'm second in that category. So it's my older brother, myself, my sister, and my younger brother. And they thought that this is a place where they wanted to raise a family. And so they saved every little bit of money that they had and purchased their home. And hopefully one day it will be the legacy of one of either my legacy, which I'm crossing my fingers for. I hope they give it to me. And they were able to ensure that we were able to get the life that they did have. And so I'm forever grateful for them.
So let me ask you, Nancy, how do you think your upbringing and your experiences, growing up in Coral Springs, going to FAMU, I know you all are really proud and do the rattler sign, but how will that experience, because, going to HBCU is very different from going to a school like, I went to, for instance, a Florida State. So how do you think that experience will inform your agenda as a city commissioner?
I think it's definitely centering equity. I appreciate my upbringing in Coral Springs, but it wasn't, I didn't see much people that look like me in Coral Springs growing up. And so we kind of build this a type of identity crisis, right? You can't be what you never see. And so going to FAMU, I was actually exposed to so many different Black people. So when I say we're all Black, right? But there's Caribbean folks, there's African folks, there's people from different parts of the African diaspora. And I really, really appreciated attending Florida A&M University. It taught me how to be thorough, triple, double, triple check based on our experiences with financial aid and the registrar's office. So those experiences actually set me up for success, but also the amazing mentors, Black mentors that I was able to have, how you conduct yourself, how you carry yourself, what to expect in the corporate world. And I didn't think that was a reality that I received here in Coral Springs yet again, because I didn't see anyone that pretty much looked like me, let alone had the same heritage as me. We were here, but not as many as there is today.
Right.
So again, I'm forever grateful for that. What I would love to bring into this role is accessibility. A lot of folks in my city believe that city government only caters to one particular kind of people, right? Folks forget to knock on doors, folks forget to engage other individuals in our community. There's language justice. A lot of the information that we provide are only in Spanish and English. We have a huge Haitian population here. Why isn't it Haitian Creole? We also have a huge Asian population here, South Asian. Why isn't that? Why aren't we catering to our different demographics here? Also want to ensure that we pride ourselves on diversity, but we don't think outside the box. So one thing that I push my commission to do is really advocate for our Muslim community to get Eid off. We get all the traditional holidays off, but so Yom Kippur, Good Friday, but unfortunately Eid is not something that folks consider as a day off. So I'm really pushing my commission to advocate the school board in order for our Muslim population here in Coral Springs their voices are heard. We're advocating for them.
Well, let me ask you this. So it seems like you're, grabbing everyone and trying to be equitable in every, category as you can. Let me ask you this before I get into your top priorities. Why did you decide to run for office?
I decided to run for office because I was tired of the same old politics. It's, hey, I'm here for you. I want to be your voice. And then when folks get on the dais, they forget their promises. I still continue to go do food drives, still continue to volunteer, still act as if I'm trying to earn people's votes. And when folks get elected, they forget that. They forget that they have to constantly keep folks engaged. And so I decided to run because I felt like there was a voice on the dais that was missing. We had the same lawyers and the realtors. No issues with realtors
Yeah.
and
Hey, hey,
lawyers
hey,
on
hey,
this
hey, hey.
call. On this call, but I'm coming from a scientist perspective. I felt that was lacking from our commission, being that my background's in environmental sciences. So really want to be diverse in all sense, not just the way I look, but the type of professions. There can only be so many lawyers that serves on a city commission, right? And they're going to have that same perspective. They're going to come from the same viewpoint. It's important that we embrace other diversity aspects as well.
All right, I hear you. So then, with that being said, what are your top priorities for your first term in office? If you can give me a couple so we can understand what you're going to get done.
I want to tackle so much. So first and foremost, I really want to have some serious conversations around environmental sustainability. It's cute. Everyone puts it into their mission statements and all, but I feel like a lot of cities don't move forward and think innovative and outside the box. It's great that your building is lead certified, but what are you doing to divest from fossil fuels? What are you doing to ensure that we have green spaces to absorb carbon dioxide? What are we doing to ensure that we have electric vehicle charging stations? Because that is a reality. So I'm constantly pushing our commission and our city staff to go that route, because that's the route of the future. Second is public safety. We all knew the incidents that has happened last summer around the George Floyd killing, Breonna Taylor. Really want to have a real conversation what public safety means for all of us, not just people who think all police are great. And I'm not saying that all police are bad. I'm just saying that what are we doing to weed out the bad police? Are we having internal investigations that are upheld and folks are not able to go to a different department and get rehired when they did X, Y, and Z in the city of Coral Springs? So how are we holding our law enforcement accountable? Also, are we having real conversation about what diversity looks like in leadership? Right now, currently in our Coral Springs Police Department, there is no diversity. Every single person on our in leadership in our police department are white men. I'm not saying that it needs to be Black women. I just need a sprinkle of color in leadership. Again, they bring a different perspective. And then lastly, economic growth. Our small businesses are being impacted as we speak, COVID-19. And you know who's hurting the most? People that look like me. We are hurting the most. We're not getting those contracts. We aren't getting those loans. We want to make sure that our city paves a way that makes it easy for business to do business with us. Whether that is, how do you complete a RFP? Here are the step-by-steps to win a contract with the city of Coral Springs. Do we have a minority and women small business agreement? Are we ensuring that we are setting up our small businesses here to succeed? Our city has really harsh ordinances around signage. How are people going to advocate for their businesses if people don't even know that they're here? And so that is something I want to work with our small businesses community around in our chambers, and hopefully with you, Shahiwa, because there are some ways I think that I can plug you all into this conversation. And lastly, our internet here in Coral Springs is horrible, right?
Yeah,
and we all know
how
important it is. Right. Every time it rains, every time some strong wind hits, our internet is not the greatest. And we know in the time of COVID, where we've shifted to virtual, it's important that we have strong broadband internet for our businesses to be able to thrive here. And so that's the icing in the cake. Those are all the things I want to accomplish in the first year. And I think that I've hit the ground running. I've had a citizenship drive to ensure that we're increasing pathway to citizenship, and which equates to votes come midterm and long-term elections. I've had food drives to ensure that we have security and address food security in our city. And then lastly, I want to have more conversations around civic engagement. Why aren't folks in our communities going out to vote? And so those are all things I'm trying to tackle now.
Okay. And Anson, I want to kind of follow up and kind of get into a little bit of the meat of the conversation, because you touched on a few things that we as a chamber like to focus on. And I know you, but this is the beginning of our relationship with you in this new position. And so it's about making sure that procurement, how you're procuring your goods and your services, is in fact steeped in an equitable process, right? And so I think once you start asking for numbers and asking to understand where the money's being spent, you will then understand, why you need to bring in more, diversity to naturally include everyone in Coral Springs and Broward County. As Broward is browning, you'll be including businesses in your community, Coral Springs specifically, and then in the county, because that money should be spread out to everyone. So I wanted to ask specifically, as a chamber president, I'm always focused on government spending and how that spending can be diversified, especially with Black businesses. So do you have a particular plan? Are you going to plan on asking for a disparity study? Are you going to be asking them to track? Because we do ask cities to start tracking, even if it's on a voluntary basis, who they're spending until the disparity study is completed, et cetera. Just get a little bit, if you can provide a little bit more detail.
Yeah, that's exactly what I've been pushing for. We had a strategic planning meeting last week, and I
Mhm.
asked for that study. I asked for us to track. I asked where our money is going, because the way we spend our money and what we prioritize on our budget sets the priority for the city. And so when I see the contracts that are being brought in front of me, I say, okay, this contract is in Miami. We have 9 businesses here in Coral Springs that do the same thing. And in those 9, there's probably 3 or 4 of them that are minority businesses. Why haven't we ensured that we've given them the contract? I hear answers like, hey, they didn't complete the RFP correctly, or they weren't competitive enough. And I was like, what are we doing to get our small local businesses there? Are we, again, providing them the tools for them to succeed? And that's why I think we can better partner with the chambers like you to provide those services and to ensure that those small businesses are able to get the tools they need to succeed. I've gotten some pushback, I'm not going to lie,
You
but
will.
if I keep bringing it back over and over and over again and say, hey, I want a local preference program. The first thing I said as soon as I got in is a local preference program. And I want to ensure our Black and brown businesses are getting these contracts. And I'm going to be a broken record. And I've told them that I'm going to repeat myself over and over again until I see the numbers and until I see that we are doing right by our communities here.
Right. And I think that's where, having a meeting such as this with the Black Chamber and some of our members who actually have businesses, who have businesses in Coral Springs, and can speak to that. So, we can facilitate you meeting with them, because it's going to be a matter of city leadership understanding, the policies that you're bringing forth with having a disparity study, having, like you mentioned, a local preference, having a disparity study conducted so you can have a gender and race-based program to bring in businesses, but also to have strong compliance with that. And obviously, I don't know if anyone's mentioned this to you, it's also comes down to having diverse selection committees as well. So I don't know if you've
Mhm.
had that conversation, so that there's fairness in the scoring when different businesses and people who people aren't used to doing business with come before them, so that there's a fair chance that's actually given to a business that's not familiar to city staff or employees. I don't know if that's come up in any of your conversations that you've had.
It has not, but you have given me little nuggets that I'm going to bring back with me, right? I think it's so important. You don't know what you don't know. And I'm an advocate of
Yeah.
like learning more and making sure that I'm presenting myself in the best light. And if I have that information and the research and the support from organizations like you, then I can, it's a fair fight. I'm going to be like, well, here's what I have, and here's what the study shows, and this is what the number is. How can we make this work here in Coral Springs? And that's how I work. So I would love, again, to continue having these conversations with the small businesses here on this call and with the chambers, and see how we can build a stronger partnership here in Coral Springs.
No, and I think that's amazing. And I'll go to the chat in a second to see if anyone has any questions for Nancy. So please, while we're talking, go ahead and put your comments or questions in the chat for Nancy. I just think it's a breath of fresh air when you have someone, like you said, when they run for office, and then it's not a matter of, hey, I got a position, and you you kind of go about going to events, and that's really what you're there for. But you're there to make a difference. I want to know how much that means to you to not just be, a face to say, hey, I was the first, but to be the first and to actually have that impact, to actually do something that moves the needle on issues um, that have been around for quite some time.
That's a great question. I move with my heart. right? I want to leave behind a legacy. That legacy doesn't necessarily mean that everybody's ranting and raving about me and my work, but ensuring that I'm setting a foundation for when I'm the first, but I definitely don't want to be the last, for everybody behind me that can pick up from the work that I've done and continue moving forward. And so if I have not done that, then what have I done in the past 4 years? I take this job very seriously because I have a vested interest here. I live here. Like I mentioned earlier, I hope that this house that I live in is, I get it. So I want to make sure that the home value, that the kids, if I do decide or don't decide to have children, my niece and my nephews go to school in Coral Springs, that they're getting the best way of quality of life here, right? And so with that legacy, I want to make sure that Black folks can thrive here, because historically our city was a white flight city, and we weren't thought of. And for us to show up, be here, I want to say to folks who look like me, we're not just here to pay taxes. We have a voice. It needs to be validated, and that we need to contribute in the way that we spend our dollars here as well.
No, absolutely. I'll read a couple of comments and see if we have a question from anyone. Um, Nicola says they're happy to join tonight. Stephanie says very phenomenal initiatives. Stephanie has a payroll company in Sunrise, I believe. Lorna says, Nancy, you are amazing. All
Thank
your
you, Lord.
initiatives on track. I have a question from Sean saying, congratulations on a terrific win. What was a special sauce to your win, and how can we support you? Special sauce, girls.
My special sauce to my win was I knocked on so
Yeah.
many, but I also outworked my opponents, right? There's nothing like hard work. I don't know if anyone on this call knows, but I ran for mayor. Um, Earlier in 2019. Yes. And folks were like, oh, you got this in the bag. You got name recognition. I was just like, nope, I don't have anything in the bag until November 3rd when they say, Nancy Metayer, you are the commissioner of Coral Springs. So I ran that
Exactly.
race like it was like I was doing it for the first time. And again, I want to
Yeah.
bring back what I had mentioned earlier through hard work that was instilled in me at a very young age, that nothing is given to you. You have to work for it. So I treat it as something that I wanted. I was going to work for it, and no one was going to give me anything. And if I do have any next plans, I definitely share it on my social media. I have events all the time. I just had a citizenship drive, a food drive. If folks want to come out and help support those initiatives, I would be more than happy. More of those initiatives are going to happen more frequently when I have a conversation about affordable housing in our city, making that a
Mhm.
reality, not just some imaginary thing that everyone talks about year after year.
Yeah.
And so, so really want to host some type of conversation, virtual conversation similar to this. And if folks can jump on, I would love that. I really want to dispel the notion that affordable housing is for poor people. It's for only Black people and people on Section 8. And
Right.
that's why our city is like not in our backyard. Like we don't want it here.
Right. No, that's important. I mean, South Florida has, pretty high standard of living with teachers rooming together, professionals,
Mhm.
people that went to college, rooming together. So it is a big issue that keeps getting kicked around. But I love the answer. I want to ask you the second part of this question, though. How can we support you? I know we know that you have initiatives and such. And I know that special sauce, that knocking works. People don't understand. It's hard work. You come home sweaty and tired, but it's necessary. Um, but the how can we help you part, I think, is important too, as a young commissioner. So it's what we'll do, get together and talk so that you'll understand some of the things that the chamber is doing, right? So we can talk about different initiatives that we're doing, so you.
Is it me or Shahila?
I think it's her.
Oh, okay. It's raining.
opportunity out here too.
I think she was asking a great question, though. How could we help and support you in some of the efforts of what you're doing?
I definitely want to be more versed in small businesses. That disparity study is something that I really want to ensure that our city follows through with. And I have a feeling that it's not going to be a priority. And so if I don't have small businesses saying, hey, this is important, it's important that we cater and we understand and support our small Black owned small and local businesses here in the city, that's where I would need the most help. If any ideas that you may have, if any concerns that you all may have in regards to me being a better commissioner in that department, that would be truly helpful. Because again, I don't know what I don't know.
I don't think that you're going to find any shortages of Black businesses in Coral Springs that aren't willing to meet with you and have discussions, especially companies that have been here for a long time. My company's been here for 20 years. And so, you know, quite frankly, we have a lot to say. And you know, there are opportunities outside of the RFP process that that companies or small or minority-owned companies should have the opportunity to be able to compete for that are outside of the RFP process. Now, I'm not saying that the RFP process should be something that people avoid, because we all have to do that. That's part of the process. But there are other contracts and opportunities with the city that are given to companies outside of that RFP process because they have the ability to be able to allow that to happen. So, you know, I mean, again, there's no shortage of companies in Coral Springs that are willing to have a discussion with you. And heck, you can do it in my office. I mean, I'd love to have that conversation with you. And I've spoken to Josh about it, and as well, some of the other commissioners. But I think there's some real opportunity there to be intentional, and it's not happening on an intentional basis right now.
Agreed. And thank you for that. And one thing that I also want to hone in on, I know Lorena is on, but also jumping on our committees and boards, the CRA, the Economic Development, the Financial Advisory Committee. These are all ways for our small businesses to get more involved in our city. And what I notice is that we don't have color on those boards. We don't have that perspective on our boards. And it's important to me that you all take advantage of those opportunities as well. Bonsoir, I see your hand up. You can go ahead while Shahiwa gets acclimated. Oh, you're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
I hear you.
Thank you. Yeah, Nancy, thank you so much for taking time out and participating in this meeting. We are all very proud of what you've been able to accomplish so far at City of Coral Springs. A lot of those issues that we have been aware of for a very long time, but since we didn't have someone like you on the table to bring them and share those issues with us, and hopefully we'll be able to address some of them. I'm not sure we're going to be able to do all of them, but at least some of them we should be able to achieve. My company, Paramount Broadcasting Communication, we are in the process of doing something that have not been done before. Basically, what we're doing, we are taking linear TV station. Linear TV is what people like me, my age, we watch. You know, we sit down in front of our screen, we watch ABC, NBC, all the local station. We're combining that with the streaming. Streaming is the Netflix, Hulu, so we can provide comprehensive content to our market. I'm currently in the market looking for a place to have my headquarters. You know, wherever I'm gonna be, I'm trying to speak to as many cities as possible. I'm looking for where I can get the most incentive possible so we can maximize the resources that we have. So my question is whether or not there is any kind of incentive at City of Coral Springs that can attract businesses such as mine to go to that city instead of somewhere else. Because wherever we're going to be, not only we're going to invest a lot, but at the same time, we're going to create a lot of well-paid jobs in that city. And that will bring the name of the city on the map because a lot of people, not only throughout the United States, but overseas, they will know of where we are, and definitely that will attract a lot of tourists, I would say, to come to that city and bring dollars, spend money. So I'm asking, you know, what is it exactly the city has that we can look at as incentive?
I'm so happy you brought that up,
Yeah.
Francois, because we had our strategic planning last week, and that is one of the questions I asked. Why should businesses come here? We need to make it, so we've discussed making Coral Springs a destination city. We have a lot of tourism, a lot of attractions here in our city that we can make very marketable to other folks, and especially small businesses. One of the initiatives is tax breaks. I think if you're able to hire locally, be here, participate in our initiatives, it benefits us. It generates that local economy. So I've mentioned several times that if we incentivize small businesses who already hire here, I think that's more bang for our buck because the money stays here in Coral Springs. What those initiatives look like, I don't know. Our economic development department, who's headed by Christy, she has is putting together a project, a proposal, and will be presenting to us in one of our workshops of what those initiatives will look like. I've implemented, if our community, if our small businesses are environmentally friendly, we'll give them a 3-star mark. 3 stars, they get a tax break. 2 stars, we give them free publicity. 1 star, we tell them they need to do better, right? We also lax the permitting process for them. These are some initiatives that are brought up. I don't know if they are going to honor those suggestions, but we have been talking about what incentives look like to attract businesses to our city. Because again, we have great talent here, but because we can't retain the talent, we can't keep people here, they leave, and then that hurts us economically.
Okay, good, thank you.
You're welcome. I hope I hear from you soon. I hope you visit us.
I will, definitely. I'm giving you time, but I will be coming.
Did Shahiwa get back on?
Nice. Can you hear me, Nancy?
I hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah,
What a
you
fiasco. Anyway, my power cut. But anyhow, but I'm back. Does anyone else have any questions for Nancy? As we're getting closer to our time.
There were a few items in the chat that I think were notable.
Yeah, go cut off. It cleared my chat. I have a question, go ahead and read it. Because all I see is a comment from MVG Consulting. I had a question. So go ahead and answer, ask your question.
It says in the city, in NYC, the city has a department that helps small minority-owned businesses prepare their bids to set up for success. Would the city of Coral Springs consider contracting with a firm to help small minority-owned businesses prepare bids or get the necessary certification? I think our city would be more than open to doing that. It's a matter of us having capacity and us having the dollars to do that. What I keep hearing now, every time I bring up something or an idea, it's like, it's not in the budget. It's not in the budget. It's not in the budget. We don't have the money for it. So if I can go through my budget, justify it and say, hey, we can move this around, of course, they'd be more than happy to do it. But they are trying to get more for their bang. And yeah, they are definitely honing in on the money aspect, especially us not knowing how COVID has directly impacted us.
Okay. Okay, well, I think though, a nice argument, a counter argument to that, Nancy, is, that's a way to help the businesses grow, which ultimately grows your revenue in the city if you're going to help them stabilize and be able to survive the pandemic and thrive thereafter. So it actually helps the city. Are there any other questions before, I guess, if you want to make any closing remarks, Nancy or Commissioner Metayer? It has been an absolute pleasure to have you. And if you want to make any closing remarks, you can go ahead before I can go into our final remarks.
Yes, thank you so much again for having me. I really enjoyed the conversation. I enjoyed meeting you all. Please do not hesitate to reach out. I'm going to give you my cell phone number. It's 954-254-8880. That's 954-254-8880. And if anyone wants to meet, coordinate, have a conversation, please send me an email at nmetayer or Metayer, which you see on my name tag down here. It's M as in Mary, E as in elephant, T as in tiger, A as in apple, Y as in yellow, E as in elephant, R as in red at coralsprings.org. Feel free. I'm super accessible. I may not get to you right away, but I will get to you as soon as I can. So I don't want to make any promises that I can't keep. And with that being said, I would love again to meet you all in the community. Please come in and bring your businesses here. And I can't wait to continue building with you all.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Congratulations again. And thank you on your win. I'm
Many congrats.
Happy about this new energy that you're bringing to the city of Coral Springs, a new perspective, and the chamber will definitely be working with you closely. But I also encourage our members to do the same and take Nancy up on the invitation that she just gave you. Call, sit down with her, find out how you can get involved in the city, the different boards, find out, how you can get more involved as a business owner, especially if you're in the city of Coral Springs, because that's really how you get to know the other decision makers, understand the process, and put yourself closer to winning bids and business with the city. So please take her up on that. As a chamber, we want to bring in people for you to meet, and we do that because we can have those relationships, but it's necessary and important for you to have those relationships as well. So thank you once again, Nancy, for coming on. I'm sure we'll be hearing more from you and with your new initiatives, and we'll definitely be in touch. So thank you once again.
Thank you so much.
I do want to go into a couple of announcements before my whole system goes down again. I do want to thank again Baptist Health for their sponsorship of this event. We appreciate it, and sponsoring our second Conversations on Equity. And I hope you all enjoyed this conversation and know that this is just the beginning. With this chamber, we start with conversation and we end with action. So
it was wonderful. Thank you for having us. Thank you. It's Nicola. Thanks.
No, thank you, Nicola.
It was great.
Nicola.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to be part of the audience tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you both for hopping on with us. And I do have a couple announcements. You all know me because I know sometimes you guys aren't checking your email. So I do want to make sure you are reminded that we have acquired this powerful tool. It is a procurement platform that we have purchased for our members. So if you are going after any bid, whether it be in region, in the state, or in the nation, you will have access to POs, to RFPs, to winning bids, to pricing, a plethora of information. We have an information session coming up on Thursday at 3:00, where our point of contact through GovSpend will be taking you through a tutorial so you understand the information that you will have at your fingertips. I know you've heard me say this before, and I'm going to say it again. This is not a time to sit complacent. The chamber is not going to help you do that. We are going to help you run. You need the information at your fingertips. We're here to provide that for you. So show up and be a part of that session. We have
Shahila,
masks.
is this like
Go ahead.
this is like Periscope or BitSync or Gov? Is
In
this
in a way, Jay, but it's more powerful because it has the PO orders. So things that aren't released through RFP gets released. If they're asking for a quote or something like that, it will show up on the system. You also have the ability to see how much money that particular agency is spending on your service. You can pare it down and do searches like that. You can look at all the different agencies and just put your service in and see who's buying. So it's a bit more flexible, I think, than the other those other systems, and that's
this
why
is
we
something that
invested
was
in this one.
beforehand a subscription service that you now are offering free to the members?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. When we pool our money together, right? I'm investing. You invest in the chamber, that in turn is supposed to turn around and invest in you.
Got it.
And I take my job very seriously.
This is
So
Thursday, right? So
yes, Thursday at 3. It will be recorded though if you can't come. It will be recorded and sent out via email. But if you can come and ask questions of Greg, it would be great.
I'll definitely tune into this. Affects me.
Perfect.
It's gonna be on Zoom.
Yeah, well, he's doing it on like Google. They have a different like Google Hangouts, but I'll send you guys that. It's one little link when you jump in the system. I was able, if I can get on easily, you can. So
Can you send that out again, please? I'm not sure. Okay.
Yeah, I will.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
No problem. So that's very important. We have masks if you need them. We want you to be safe. And they're free once again to members. So your clients and your employees and yourself are safe. This is a reminder of our business referral group meeting that's coming up the last Wednesday of the month. Obviously, we're going virtual with them. And our next meeting, we will be specifically talking about you linking up with someone in that meeting and meeting with them and figuring out how you can refer them business. That's going to be your assignment for the month. We really want to get this thing moving where we're passing and pushing and moving referrals around in the chamber, like we were doing in our North, our BRG North during 2019 before coronavirus. So we really want to get that moving. So make sure you show up and be prepared to refer business and have business referred to you.
So you're going to address that at this upcoming meeting, because I think about a month ago, I was looking for an electrician to do work for me for my station up in Port St. Lucie. I just sent a message to you directly. I didn't know how to reach out to any of our members that may be a licensed electrician.
Right. Well, we have a directory on the site,
Okay.
Francois. So if you're looking for a specific service, and we're getting that upgraded to make that easier for you to search by city and trade.
Okay. Yeah.
So you can
because
do
I would
that,
rather give that contract to one of our members than.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. No, absolutely. And we also have, if we don't have that service, guys, I feel free to ask me, because the point is, I will be able to find it for you. We have NABWIC that just joined the chamber, the National Association of Black Women in Construction. We have minority builders. But then we also have a general contractor, a GC in the chamber. And so I get really good referrals from them because they're only going to work with people who can get things done. So when I can get it from them, get a good referral, I can pass that on to you. So you can search the directory, but feel free to ask.
Okay.
Okay. And just another quick announcement for March is coming up, and that's Women's History Month. And we'll be starting out with an event on women and wealth. So, obviously the men are free to join. We want you guys to be able to build wealth too. But as we know, the statistics show that women, we are conservative. We hold on to our dollars. We're not investing typically the rate we should. And doing some other things. You agree. Okay, Francois.
I know. Totally.
And so we want to make sure that we're doing what we need to do as we, lead a number of households sometimes. And we need to make sure we're passing on a legacy to our children and our grandchildren. So we're kicking it off with that event. And later on in the month, we'll be hosting a Women in Leadership event with the CEO, the new CEO of Career Source Broward. I'm sure most of you didn't know that she's a Black woman. So we'll be showcasing her at that time. Lastly, I think this is the last slide. Show us some love, okay? It's the month of love. Follow us, like us. We got our YouTube going on, YouTube channel going on where I'm trying to post all of the events. So if you miss it and can't join us, you can at least still feel the vibes and the love through watching it via video. So please join us. I pump out a lot of good information through our social media sites, so make sure you do that. We actually have a PPP webinar that I just filmed with Althea Harris, Esquire from the SBA. She's their outreach and marketing person down there. It's very detailed. She answers a lot of questions, even talks about the targeted EIDL advance. I'm sure you don't even know what that is. So if you were denied your $10,000 and you were supposed to get it last time and they gave you only 2 or 3 because you only had, 2 employees or 3 employees, they're actually looking for you to give you the rest of that money up to $10,000. So there's lots of little nuggets that I didn't even know about that's in there. So if you have time, watch it and obviously apply because the deadline is at the end of March or until the funds run out. So that's
I mean,
my
I heard
spiel
there's
on that.
nothing I was in a presentation with SBA. Basically, there's nothing we can do. They have to reach out to us, as it related to that.
But
yeah.
So she's telling people to check their emails and everything, but she does have her information in here. So you can always contact her and see, what she can do. But yeah, they're supposed to be reaching out to you and sending you a email. So they're advising people to check their email.
And where's her contact information listed?
So if you go through the video, it should be there. Or actually maybe in the beginning slide, but it's in there. She shares that freely. If you can't find it, I can email it to you. She's real open to helping. All right, guys. Well, thank you for joining us for our second installation of our conversations on equity. That is not just a conversation, it's just the beginning in celebration of our Black History Month. So don't forget our BRG meeting is on the 24th. We have our GovSpend meeting this Thursday, information session, and we will be having a food giveaway, which you guys will see in your email on the 27th on Saturday. So if you need know anybody in need of some help, food, etc., you can pass that on when you see it in your email. All right, well, have a wonderful night.
Great meeting. Thank you.
For joining us,
phenomenal
guys.
meeting.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Great job.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Have a great one, guys.
Okay. Somebody say. Cool.